Welcome into the A10 Spotlight here in the ASN studios. I'm Monica McNutt. On this week's show, our lead college basketball analyst, Mark Adams, he's in the building. A pair of standout hoopers from George Mason join us via Skype, and we check out the Chicago connection within the Dayton Flyers men's basketball program. But we'll start with our weekly honors. Duquesne's Isaiah Mike picks up the Rookie of the Week award. He averaged 12 points and 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in Duquesne's 2 victories, including, by the way, a game-winning 3 with 15.9 seconds to play against Central Connecticut State. The Player of the Week award goes to Mason senior Marquise Moore. He averaged a double-double, 21 points and 14.5 rebounds and 7.5 assists in a pair of road wins for the Patriots. Speaking of the A10 Player of the Week on the men's side, and this has been a historic award for senior guard Marquise Moore out of George Mason. First time that a Patriot picks up this award since it's been handed out. Marquise, how do you feel to knock down a first for your program?
It's definitely a very special feeling. Just seeing all my hard work come to light and just being able to put Mason on the map again, it's a great feeling.
So your first A10 Player of the Week, you also put up the program's first triple-double here recently. When you came into this season, Marquise, what was your focus? What did you want out of this season for yourself personally?
I wanted to just show everybody what I could do on the court. I've been plagued by injuries last year, the year before that, so I really wanted to just come out here, play as hard as I can, and just leave it all out on the floor.
Your numbers are up in terms of your production, in terms of scoring and assists. The team also is in the midst of one of its best runs since a few years back, 2010, 2011. What is happening in Fairfax?
I think it's just all starting to come together. We're all starting to trust each other more. We're playing hard. Defensively, we're all bought in. And it's a great feeling just being able to come out there and compete with your brothers and just string together a lot of wins.
What has been the biggest difference? I mean, last year Coach Paulson comes aboard. We saw what he was able to do at his previous programs. We're in the second year. It seems like it's coming together. What's been the biggest difference you've seen from the coaching staff on down?
Just trust, really. 1 through 13, we all trust each other. We're really like a big family out there. We don't matter. It doesn't matter who scores. It doesn't matter who makes the play. It just matters that the George Mason University player makes the play, and it's just a trickle-down effect.
We saw on Twitter that you got some love from some national college basketball writers, but did you know that you are one of 7 players nationally in the last 20 years to go for at least 15, 15, and 10? Are you like computing and calculating the numbers that you're putting up, or are you just playing?
No, I'm just trying to play. I'm not really worried about that. I know if I play hard and I play to the best of my ability, those numbers and those accolades will come, but my main focus right now is just winning and competing at a high level.
In the spirit of the holidays, Marquise, have a little fun with me. What would be the George Mason Patriot Christmas wish?
Christmas wish? I say to make a run in the NCAA tournament. That would be the Christmas wish, yeah.
Cool. Have you been behaving all year long so that Santa can help make that come true?
I hope so. I think I have.
Any fun slogans or mantras or words that you guys have posted in the locker room?
I say it's a quote that Coach uses, burn your boats. It was about 5,000 soldiers, and they were facing like great odds. Again, I think they were facing about 30,000 soldiers, and basically the moral of the story is the 5,000 soldiers, they all burnt their boats because the captain told them there's no retreating. So they all burnt their boats because it was either they all in or you're out. So that's what it refers to.
Burn your boats. All right, Marquise. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for stopping by. Congratulations. And, of course, we wish you continued success and a happy holiday.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Burn the boat. That was an original. We're over on the couch. Mark Adams is here. We're going to burn up the boat talking about A10 scoring duos. We kick it off with the Wildcats in Davidson.
Yeah, Davidson has 2 dynamic scorers, and what I love about Davidson, they bring 2 guys that can really score. And Jack Gibbs at over 24 points a game. He's number 3 in the nation. He dropped 30 on North Carolina earlier this season. And his backcourt running mate, Peyton Aldridge, at 20 points per game, double figures for 8 games this season, and dropped 31 on App State. I love what Bob McKillop does in order to really identify his 2 great scorers and get him the ball in position.
We knew about Jack Gibbs last season. The emergence of Peyton Aldridge has just added another threat for this Wildcats team. They are a fantastic group to watch, but they're not the only duo that you're going to highlight, Mark. We got to talk a little bit about St. Bonaventure. They've got some scores there as well.
St. Bonaventure is dynamite. What Mark Schmidt has done with that backcourt has been just genius. As you've got Jalen Adams, who averages almost 23 points a game. He's number 13 in the country. He dropped 31 on the Pride of Hofstra. And Matt Mobley, a dangerous three-point shooter. He went for 6 3-point makes versus Florida. I love those scoring duos in the A10.
All right, so Jack Gibbs shoots threes. Matt Mobley shoots threes. I'm going to put the screws to you here, Mark. Between these two duos, Davidson, St. Bonaventure, we're getting closer to conference play. Which one do you think will be able to sustain their scoring longest?
Let's put it this way. If I were in a pickup game on a playground, I would pick Davidson because of Jack Gibbs. Look, I love Jalen Adams, but I think Jack Gibbs is one of those guys that you give him the basketball in a game-winning situation. I just love the decision-making, and I also like McKillop in that situation as well.
I think that's fair, and that's no shade to St. Bonaventure at all. Those guys are also very potent scorers, but I'm inclined to agree with you. Now, we got to talk big picture. Yep. I know you always love keeping your eye on the field and the big dance. Tournament bids, at this point, what are you seeing for the A10?
Yeah, I looked into my crystal ball, and I came up with what I think are going to be multi-bids right now for the Atlantic 10. And the bids report the resumes for Dayton, URI, VCU, and why I think they're kind of mid-seeds at 7 and 9 tourney teams, and then maybe 2 more, George Mason and George Washington. So they'd be possible bubble teams. So I think those 5 teams right now have put themselves in position in order to gain some automatic bids for the NCAA tournament.
When you look at this group, though, Mark, we look at URI, hopefully they can stay healthy. We know what happened last year with E.C. Matthews. Now Hassan is kind of out. You look at VCU, not necessarily the shooting ability that we saw from them last year. What's going to be the key? Because they're about to run into one another in A10 play.
Yeah, VCU right now has some challenges. They've lost some games here recently. They've got to right their ship. But they also have some quality wins along the way. Dayton won at Alabama, for example. That's a good win for them. They beat East Tennessee State. They've got Northwestern coming up on their schedule as well. So in Dayton's case, they've got some work to do, but they're in a good position. And then you look at George Mason. They went 1-3 to open the season. Then they go win a Penn State. They beat Penn. George Mason is a team that I'm keeping an eye on right now.
Okay, fair enough. And Marquise told us to keep an eye on that as well when he stopped by via Skype. Mark, it was so nice to have you in person in studio.
And we blew up the boat.
We blew up the boat. We burned the boat. Coming up, senior guard Kara Wright of George Mason on the women's side. She's going to stop by and talk what her team is up to. The Women's Player of the Week award goes to LaSalle's Amy Griffin. The junior guard scored 22 points in both victories for the Explorers. She averaged 7.5 rebounds as well over that stretch. Oh, and 2 game-tying jumpers to force overtime against Penn. As for the freshman of the week, the rookie of the week, I should say, Kate Krislina of Fordham. She put up a career high of 19 points on 6 of 9 shooting in a close win over Princeton. She averaged 12.5 points and 3.5 rebounds in the week's 2 games. One of the previous Women's Player of the Week award winners is George Mason senior guard Kara Wright. Halfway through December, she's averaging 14.9 points a game and 6 rebounds, also chipping in with 3 assists per game. We welcome into the A10 Spotlight George Mason senior guard Kara Wright. Kara, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
So far this season, you've already put up 3 double-doubles. What has been your focus thus far this year?
We're just trying to go out and leave everything out on the floor and not regret anything. Trying to be a leader to this team. We got some young ones out there, so I'm just trying to be a leader and trying to do the best that I can every game.
One of those double-double performances, and I know I'm taking you back a little bit, included 12 of 13 from the free throw line. In the midst of going to the line, at least 6 times, were you counting? Were you keeping track? I mean, when you missed the one, did you notice? I mean, how did that go?
It was shocking because I looked at the box score after the game, and I saw that it was 12 for 13, and I was like, geez, like I really racked up. I had no idea. I thought I was, I don't know, 7, 8 maybe. I don't know. I had no idea. It was cool though. You know, that doesn't happen every day.
It certainly does not happen every day. All right, you guys are currently 6-5. Conference play is right around the corner. What do you think is going to be the strongest thing that the Patriots bring to the table as we turn the page to conference play?
We're versatile. We've had a lot of people score this year, and I think that's different than what it's been in the past. We've had Sarah go off for 17 one game. JC's been off for 17 one game. Tiffany Pageant's starting to come into her own. Taylor Dotson's playing well. Casey Davis is playing well. So I think at any given moment, anybody could go off, and I think that's good for us.
You rattled off name after name in only a way that a senior captain and leader would do. As far as Kara, the leader, when you walk into the locker room, what is your focus? Is it setting an example for your teammates? Is it encouraging your teammates? I mean, what is Kara Wright, the leader's responsibility day to day?
Kara Wright, the leader. That's funny. I don't really look at myself as a leader. I don't really see myself as a leader. I haven't really been put in that type of role since, I guess, since before this year. But I just try to do the right thing. I'm trying to be more vocal. That's something that I struggle with doing, but I always have wanted to lead by example, and I'm just doing the best that I can. Just trying to do the right thing, give the freshmen and underclassmen something to look at.
It seems like you've got it under control, Kara. And if nobody ever told you, the leadership answer you gave me when you rattled off all your teammates and deflected all the praise from you, that's classic A1 leadership technique, so kudos to you. Now I'm going to give you a chance to throw your teammates under the bus just a little bit. So you know this thing, the mannequin challenge,
Yeah.
which we all love. If
Yeah.
the George Mason Patriots did a mannequin challenge, we can even include the coaching staff and support staff. Who would probably be the first person to mess it up?
That's funny. We actually have done the mannequin challenge already, and I say everybody was pretty solid. We had to go through it twice just because we had some filming issues, but I think everybody held their own and everybody stayed still. But if I had to choose someone, I don't know. Maybe Bridget O'Donnell.
We'll have to make sure Bridget O'Donnell knows that you think so highly of her and her mannequin challenge skills. All right.
She's very goofy, so you gotta know her to know it.
I understand for sure. Kara, what's your personal pregame ritual? Is there anything fun that you like to share?
I would say the day before a game, I have to shave my legs. They have to be smooth. And then I'm low-key OCD. So I have a routine. I can't really like name it for you, but I just know that I do things in a certain order every game, like very methodically.
I take that. Smooth legs equals a smooth jump shot. I personally had to have my nails painted fresh, so my follow-through was on point. All right, Kara, as you turn the page and you guys get closer and closer to conference play, you talked about the versatility of the Patriots, but what's going to be the key for you guys making a run?
To make a run, we definitely will have to stay consistent. We definitely have to, defense is a big thing for us. Make sure that we're rebounding. Coach really is really big on rebounding and defense because I believe that we're good enough on the offensive end that it'll come to us. But rebounding and defense, definitely.
Sounds good. Well, Kara, we hope that you enjoy the holiday season and that you guys continue to have success on the court, and we'll certainly be locked in and tuned in as we turn the page to conference play. Best of luck, and thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Holding a chin up for the mannequin challenge, that is impressive. My tip of the hat to you, ma'am. All right, there are some cities across the country that are known as hotbeds for basketball talent. Chicago is one of them, and the Dayton Flyers are plugged in. Welcome back. Recruiting is essential for a college basketball program to be successful. Places like DC, New York, Philly, Chicago are known hotbeds. So, for a coach, the ability to establish himself and his program in the region are huge. The Dayton Flyers have made that connection in Chicago. 3 of their current contributors have come through the pipeline.
It's as good as anywhere in the country. Derrick Rose, who's an MVP, and Jahlil Okafor. I mean, you go down the line there. I think they've had, 3 of the last 5 National Players of the Year, I believe, were from the Chicago area. So it's a really competitive environment. It's a basketball city. They take their basketball and their hoops so seriously, and they play year-round.
We're from Chicago. We get a chance to represent our city, and also we know each other, so it's pretty cool to come to a school where it is more than one Chicagoan.
Chicago is the largest Dayton alumni base outside of the state of Ohio in the country. And so Dayton is a very big name in the Chicago area. It has a great reputation, academic reputation and athletic reputation. And over the years, Dayton has had a lot of players from the Chicago area and they've had a lot of success. Kevin Dillard was a Mr. Basketball, former Mr. Basketball in the state of Illinois, which is a huge, huge deal. And was a very popular figure. And then we had Josh Parker on the team and Luke Fabrizius, all from the area. It's great, great coaching in the area, whether it be high school coaching or the summertime coaching. All three of those guys, both Kyle and Josh came from Morgan Park, and then Kendall came from Simeon, and they just got unbelievable coaching both during their high school seasons and during their summer and AAU times. What they brought to the table was just a level of toughness, competitiveness, and winning mentality that has elevated our entire program.
It was a challenge being at Morgan Park. You know, you had to play, really had a tough conference playing the best of the best. You know, had to play Simeon, who had Jabari Parker, Kendall Pollard, Kendrick Nunn, Jalen Tate. You know, they had a couple of good players. And then right around that, we played against Bogan, who had LaJuan Pittman, who's at UMass now. So we had a lot of competition in the Chicago area. It was just competition, no matter what school you played.
It's a real tough league to play in, the Chicago Public Schools. It's a real tough league. You can lose any night, no matter who you are. Me being on the best team for 4 years straight, we was a favorite, but we could lose to anybody any night. And it just brings a certain toughness out of you when you go play anywhere else. Publicly on the south side of Chicago, it's real tough. Morgan Park and Simeon, we both played in the Red South since we was on the south side. And the red division is like the hardest division. Is where you go against the best competition every night. It's real rough. You don't get too many fouls called, but it's fun. It teaches you how to become a tough player.
You know, the coaches are always taking trips out there, and I know they recruited Kyle and Kendall and Josh very heavily. You know, trying to get them to come here. But you know, I mean, Chicago basketball is there's really nothing like it in the country. It's a different level. And I think the coaches see that, and they do a good job of bringing good players from the city in here.
All three of those guys played in the largest stages, so when they get to college, the adjustment period about playing in front of 13,000 people or playing on TV, there is an adjustment there is for some kids because they're used to it, and they played at the highest level. You know, Kendall played with 5 or 6 other high Division I players on his team. You know, Jabari being the one everyone knows about. You know, Kyle and Josh, their team probably had 4 or 5 Division I players on their team, so they know what it's like to play with good people and play against good people and play in the spotlight. So when they got here, the spotlight didn't mean anything to them. Whether they're freshmen and going to the NCAA tournament against Ohio State or Syracuse, they've been there before and they expected to win. What those guys brought to the table from day one was a winning attitude. And no matter who we play, no matter where they play them, they expected to win.
All right, coming up, Mark has some very original awards. Only Mark can come up with these awards, but stick around, they're noteworthy.
Welcome back to the A10 Spotlight. In men's basketball right now, it looks like emperor penguins huddled up in the Antarctica protecting their eggs. They're all close and kind of hard to tell apart. So I'm going to help you differentiate those eggs and those penguins and give out a few awards that I've seen over the last month of the season. First, the Job Award goes to the Dayton Flyers. The Flyers appear to be regrouping after the tragic death of Steve McIlvaine this past May, and then the injury to Bradley transfer Josh Cunningham at the end of the win at Alabama. The good news is Kendall Pollard is a huge shot of confidence for a team that needed some good news. Charles Cook had 24 points, 8 rebounds, and a career-high 4 block shots. Kendall Pollard added 12 points and a career-high 12 rebounds, and Dayton pulled away from a really good East Tennessee State team, 75-61, last weekend for their 5th straight win. And now for the Rodney Dangerfield Award. That goes to St. Bonaventure's Mark Schmidt. This is a coach that just doesn't get enough credit and respect, as he just keeps reinventing those Bonnies with great guard play and winning 5 of the last 6. Jalen Adams is an absolute game plan nightmare, and Matt Mobley is the perfect three-point madman right next to him. I love those Bonnies. The Rising Stock Award, this one's easy. It goes to George Mason. After a 1-3 start, they've now won 8 consecutive games. Jalen Jenkins scored 22 points and grabbed 6 rebounds to help lead Mason over Penn 79-60 on Saturday. And ever-improving Jenkins, along with Marquise Moore and Otis Livingston, make Dave Paulson's team one to watch as we move toward the Atlantic 10 season. And now, let's go to Broadway. For the Understudy Award, Shavar Newkirk of St. Joe's. He's transformed himself into the lead actor, the go-to guy for Phil Martelli. The Hawk will never die, even after lead actor from last season, DeAndre Bembry, headed off to the NBA. Newkirk only averaged 8 points per game last season, but he learned from that lead actor, Bembry, as his understudy, and now headlines at 20 points per game. That Hawk is still flapping his wings. And lastly, the Young Pup Award goes to UMass freshman Lawan Pipkins. He's my choice after dropping 20 on Providence in a losing effort. My number 2 choice would be at the same team, Dejan Giroux. He's a freshman backcourt mate that's been injured lately, but has returned now to the lineup. Pipkins brings a Chicago toughness to the Minutemen, along with leading this nation with 4 steals per game. Derek Kellogg has a backcourt that bodes well for a long-term future for that program in Amherst. That is the A10 Spotlight.
This is indeed the A10 Spotlight, and thank you for that, Mark. Lots of good basketball players on both the men's and women's side to keep your eye on. Guys, we're getting closer and closer to conference play. It's going to be so good. I'm Monica McNutt. That does it for this edition of the show. We'll see you here next week.